What's up, guys? Welcome back to the Mindset Mirror Connection podcast. I'm getting right into it today because you are in for a treat. I met this lady at a networking event, and when she started speaking, I said, oh my God, I need her to speak to my people, especially when it comes to teaching everyone here how to speak with confidence. And today I'm welcoming Joanna Horton McPherson. She's an executive leadership strategist, a speaker, and trusted advisor who's helped founders and CEOs and growth stage leaders communicate with greater clarity, trust, and influence to scale their impact. She's a 6-time founder with more than 20 years experience across media, technology, education, finance, philanthropy, nonprofits, and the arts. She has contributed to more than 50 million in revenue and fundraising. She's a graduate of Harvard University, and she specializes in executive communication, leadership strategy, and human capital development, drawing on expertise in leadership, psychology, neuroscience, and design thinking. Her work has been featured in Forbes, Bloomberg, Fox Business, ABC, and Yahoo News, and she has trained thousands of leaders, entrepreneurs, and executives worldwide. She's passionate about purpose-driven leadership. She believes organizations thrive when leaders build trust by communicating the truth behind their vision with authenticity, creating stronger cultures, greater impact, and sustainable growth. Well, welcome to the Mindset Mirror Connection podcast, the podcast where we have honest conversations about food, body, exercise, and mindset. I'm your host, Christina Hathaway, licensed associate marriage and family therapist with specialized training in food and body obsession, certified personal trainer, and nutrition coach. And we have candid conversations about how your mind, your body, and your identity are one integrated system and teach you how to treat it accordingly. So if you're a high-performing individual who loves educational, thoughtful, and no bullshit conversations around health and wellness, you're in the right place. Here we believe what you say in your mind, you see in the mirror. So let's have a conversation about that. All right, guys, welcome, Joanna. I am so excited that you're here right now.
I'm so glad to be here. Thank you so much.
Yes. So in the intro, I had explained when I first met you and you started speaking, I was just instantly drawn to you. And that's the interesting thing about that is that's ultimately what we're going to talk about today. But you absolutely are the epitome of what you practice because you just have such a warm and magnetic presence to you. So I'm excited to share that with my audience.
Well, I appreciate that, Christina, and that means a lot coming from you.
Thank you.
And that is definitely what I'm here to build in the world, is the ability to be an authentic authority. We need that.
Absolutely. So let's get into it. I know that you originally, if I have this right, started in entertainment, correct?
That's one. Yeah, I haven't said it quite that way, but it is. It's a little funkier than that, actually. My acting career, which is what you're referring to, started when I was 13 up until age 20 doing theater for social change.
Oh, wow.
So I started a nonprofit when I was young and was in one, touring, doing group theater about telling a story that gives you a voice and doing a talk back with your audience.
That's amazing. I didn't realize it was something more specific when we had originally spoke, and obviously something that gives back to the community. I love that.
You know, it's funny. Yes, you hadn't heard that. Like many of us who do lots of things, you got to always think, what is it that I can say that's going to point to them knowing what I do? But when I have time to get to know someone, it's always good to know where you can surprise people with like a level of depth that they didn't know you had, or one way that you took your career that meant a lot and mattered a lot at that time, which it certainly did, doing groups with youth in foster care, youth, teenagers, youth in incarceration, immigrant youth from Guatemala, Honduras, Haiti in the projects. And so we'd go in their schools and this is early on, what do you want to talk about? What is the story you want to tell that they don't know about you? Because these are kids, these are the same youth that are profiled, followed in stores. The cops are stopping them. But what they don't know is their struggles of how they immigrated here or what it's like to have grown up in this type of environment. And so they'll act out a story or a scene from their life. And it is often very intense and has a lot of truth in them. And so when you do a talk back with an audience, they see this population, this youth, this person in their humanity.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because what's relatable about theater, and it gets to what we're talking about today, why entertainment, why visibility, why the stage, the human story is what connects us all. And it's just a
Mm-hmm.
matter of what venue we're showing up in that to what reason. So I really think about my work as healing. We have a lot of
Absolutely.
pain, a lot of youth who are suffering, a lot of mental health issues. There's a lot of suicide stuff. Seems like it's just happening, but where is the root cause of why we got here, and how are we going to stand in like me too, not that movement, but like I've also have a painful story. So people see like a public figure, a woman who's, got it all, or these things that people say when they see someone like us or
Mm-hmm.
leading out there. Like she always had it figured out, but there's a story behind it always.
Absolutely. I love that when you were talking about giving them the option or the opportunity to act it out.
Mm-hmm.
I am such a big fan of experiential therapy for that reason, whether we're using the own body, their voice, song, play. You
Yeah.
know, when I worked with children and child crimes, a lot of what we did was more of that
Mm-hmm.
acting because they can kind of let go and at least in my experience, I think that's so beautiful, especially because it allows, like you said, the audience to learn something
Yeah.
in a way that's emotional and vulnerable and authentic that they may not be able to learn if just having a conversation even.
That's so true. We carry so much assumption, like the cover is the book
Hmm.
about each other. What gets me interested about why we're here doing work around leadership, and I do work with visibility in media and helping leaders become thought leaders and have your voice be featured and have your story be in the media, what people are reading about your industry. Why you? That is important because when you find someone who knows the difference between right and wrong, who knows that their business is a solution that's going to help people, when there's someone who wants to see people win, really,
Hmm.
our job, those of us who do this type of work around visibility and speaking in media and leadership, is to make sure that they're the ones who are in front of the pack.
Right.
And that's how the world changes. So, how does it relate to human story and vulnerability? It's very hard to get beyond where you already know if you're leading something without knowing how you show up in that, because the further you get in your visibility in your career, the more people want to know about you. And the
Mm.
more they want to know about you, you have a choice of either being performative and being like, oh yeah, no, this is why, this is my, and having a mask up.
Hmm.
Or we have the choice to really understand what is behind the mask always
Mm.
that drove us, and then knowing how to be comfortable with it. So when you talk about acting, my experience in doing professional acting was through a method called the emotional honesty technique. So think method actors, think HBO
Hmm.
films. I was in that industry for a period of time, and acting wasn't pretending.
Hmm.
It wasn't putting on a play or putting on performance. It was knowing how to feel deeply an emotional experience in front of people for a script, but you're really feeling these things. And when you wire your emotions to be available to you, more of yourself shows up. And so when we talk about visibility work, it matters to know how your body feels when you tell your story. Those aren't the stories we put in the media. Those aren't the stories we put in the stage. But in my method, the True Influence method, the
Hmm.
first step of work is called phase one. It's underground. It's invisible to the audience. It's for us in a safe space to be like, how did I get here? Who
Right.
am I? What am I really building? And what do I know about that problem? It's all the vulnerable stuff that once you know it, you get visible. It's phase five of the journey where you're now in those rooms you only dreamt you could build in. You became someone. You became the new identity of who you always thought you could be. And now you know that your vulnerability is actually what is needed. It's not the performativeness. It's what was behind the mask that got you there.
Oh,
That's leadership.
absolutely. And it was there the entire time. Y-
Yeah. But we wondered if it was like a weakness or
Exactly.
embarrassing.
Yes.
Am I the only
So,
one? How is this a strength? Joanna, please
hmm.
tell me, how is this a strength? And then
Hmm.
you gotta figure it out. Yeah. And know how to
Yeah.
tell that. Yeah.
I think that's beautiful because, you know, the Mindset Mirror Connection and this podcast and everything I do is really about uncovering, right, the root struggles to our identities, and then thus the behavioral and the cognitive patterns that
Mm-hmm.
interfere in us taking care of ourselves, really, from from health, nutrition, exercise, taking care of yourself in relationship to others, and of course your relationship to yourself. And a lot of anxieties that I see are what we think other people want us to be and how we need to behave.
Mm.
And what you just said is so striking. You become that person when you connect to your truth and your reality and have like a I'm going to use my own words, like this acceptance of this is me, this is who I am, and that strength creates the confidence, the leader, whatever it is that the person wants. But what I see, and I'd like to get into you kind of breaking this down, is people feel like imposters. They're afraid to show that vulnerability. They're afraid for people to see them. So, how do you approach that individual who says, no, 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 nothing to see here. Let me just perform my way through. It's worked for me up to this point.
Yeah, I can't wait to get into this. I'm not for everyone.
Mhm.
And many of my clients are also not for everyone. We're somewhat rare. And I'm not flattering myself when I say that. It's just that to do work in the self is not, it's not immediately like a short-term gain. It doesn't feel like it's worth your time. And like they don't, I'm like, I don't need that. They want
Mhm.
the outcome, right? They want the stuff that my clients get, but there is only a certain set of people, Christina, who are comfortable with truth. Some people have, well, all of us, and let's just be human about it. All of us have some story. It's not like what the thing is you're negotiating. Like some people have something they're working with and some don't. We all do, but it's how we relate to it. So the imposter syndrome, we get these survival skills that got us here. They cover it for us. Like they've survived. And so it's like, yeah, these masks work, Joanna. I don't need you. Like, okay, great, because where you're at is where you stop growing. You can't go
Mhm.
past the limit of your growth.
Right.
So those who are like, I get that actually. I get what you're saying about growth. I've been knowing it. I've been seeing the signs. Now I'm ready. What do you got? What we got is we imported a voice of who we should be when we're really young, usually through some formative experiences, whether it's at home, something your parents said, some pattern at home, all the stuff that feels irrelevant for a leader. Like, God, childhood stuff, really? Well, what shapes us is usually the skills we had to develop. So if like you were told you'd never be anyone, well, now you're going to be someone who outperforms and
Mhm.
has to accomplish your way into being a valid person. But what we don't end up getting until this point where we are now is realizing that that is a voice that keeps us in survival mode. You've
Right.
got to accomplish to be good. So what if you
Mhm.
can't accomplish anymore? You're at that limit of like, it's not working anymore. This survival skill isn't working. Now we need to know, well, where did I get that voice and how do I hear my own and trust that instead? How do I trust me and validate me? You see, there's a
Mhm.
shift that has to happen in us. So
Absolutely.
the truth is, I know a lot about people pleasing. I know a lot about seeking external validation. I had a crisis when I was a new mother where you can't like achieve at home.
Mhm.
There's no accomplishment that people can be like, you got that award, or you're like, you got that thing. It's much more internal. And I realized that I didn't feel like I was enough unless I was doing out there. So that's where this business started because I already have the skills of like I'd done energy work on myself, I'd been in therapy, I'd done mental health counseling, I've studied the emotional honesty technique, I became an avid meditator, I'd done this, that, and the other leadership training, I got a master's degree from Harvard. I
Mhm.
can't out achieve this anymore.
Right.
At some point, I'm
Tried
gonna have
real
to learn. Yeah, unless I like become the queen of the world, like what is the next accomplishment? Like I've got to look inward at what I'm trying to outpace because I am
Mhm.
not thriving. I am
Yes.
not thriving. Okay. So what I learned I was outpacing was feeling like I am not fundamentally a lovable person.
What's up, guys? I interrupt this episode to announce that my next cohort for my 8-week collective will be starting mid-September. What is the collective? Well, this is not a weight loss program. This is a systems building program that teaches you flexibility in your mind around nutrition and exercise. The goal here is for you to be able to pivot and adjust no matter what life throws your way. What is included in this collective is a weekly group coaching call with myself and our amazing community. You're going to get access to the mindset method, which is the psychological curriculum that I've created with my over 15 years specializing in food and body obsession. The goal of the curriculum is to help you work through the all or nothing and perfectionistic patterns that often stand in the way of being consistent with your nutrition and your movement. Then from there, you're going to do a weekly capacity check-in. This is going to tell us over the next 7 days where you're at in the world, how much time you have, and what do we think your emotional and mental capacity will be, then giving you a concrete plan around high fiber and high protein foods that meet you where you're at, as well as movement that actually matters. From there, we will work together on building from these habits so that you can create a solid foundation that bends instead of breaks when life gets lifey. If you're interested in the collective, it will start mid-September, as I mentioned, so stay tuned for the start date. And we're asking $397 for the 8-week process. So if you're interested, check out the show notes. Now, back to the show.
That was a belief that I got, right? I believed that at a young age. And that was something that I had to learn not to like make a project about, like become lovable. No, it's like, how can I really hear that and feel the pain of that? How heartbreaking, how heartbreaking that is. And then to like go to that inner child who feels that way and be who she needs. Like, look, we're okay. And the hug, like I do a lot of work that people don't even know about in this method with clients. If they're in the inner child work, you really go into that time and that conversation in yourself. And it's not like we resolve it. We just receive it.
Mm-hmm. It's a great word.
Right. You receive it. And then it's a friendly way that you can relate to pain where it's like, I now feel like I've got my arms around it. I'm not running from this anymore. I can really feel it and say, this is what I needed then.
Yes.
And now I can realize that I know a lot about this and now I'm not hiding from myself. So how does this relate to visibility? Imagine taking that mask off and being like, I'm really okay with what's here. That is authentic authority.
Mm-hmm. I love that. A lot of gold there, right? Little gold nuggets. The biggest thing, and for our listeners, they resonate with everything that you're saying, because it's a lot of what we talk about here is these learned behaviors and these identities we have to realize are not character flaws in us. These were survival skills, as you had mentioned, right? And for a lot of individuals, they're walking around just thinking, this is who I am. There's nothing I can do about it. And what you provide is a different opinion, really, in saying, no, actually, if you learn these behaviors, you can, through the work that they do with you, for lack of better terms, unlearn them, right? You're basically reparenting yourself from what you didn't receive, right? And that inner child work is so important. I mean, there have been times where I just felt so overwhelmed and I crouched down. I remember this in my gym. I crouched down and just hugged myself and started crying. And I always picture, there's this one picture of me as a little girl. I see her and I just feel her. She's needing something in that moment and nothing working out. I was in the gym trying to work it out, right? That wasn't working. It was just, I needed to have that space. And for listeners, being able to work with someone like Joanna or myself, therapy, whatever it is, that inner child work is so important because, as you had mentioned then at the end, you then take off the mask, you trust yourself enough to share your story. And one of the things I wanted to add is your story is like your fingerprint.
Yeah.
Once you realize it and how, it can help support others, it's not that it's people can relate, yes, but the story is always going to be different, because I think sometimes people think, well, a lot of people do healing work and a lot of people are people pleasers, or a lot, all of these distortions in their minds. But it's like, no, once you really learn yourself and trust yourself, you realize the uniqueness of who you are. And then,
Mm,
like you said, bringing that to the stage. I love this. It's so
mm.
funny that this aligned when it did. I am speaking in Maryland in September, and it is about my story. It has nothing to do with anything else but my story.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, "Oh my goodness."
So timely.
Yeah, it
Yeah,
was meant to be.
it is meant to be.
So tell me about now, you have worked in so many different fields, and a lot of the fields you've worked in, from the outsider looking in, these are individuals who are highly educated. They might be at a higher socioeconomic level. They have a lot of accolades and achievements, right? What is your experience with that high achiever, perfectionistic mind, right? And helping them figure out how to be vulnerable while also learning to influence and communicate effectively.
Okay, I want to hear that question again so I know exactly what you're asking. Can you ask that to me another way so I understand?
From my experience, the individuals who are at the top oftentimes lack a level of vulnerability. How do
Okay,
you
that's
unlock that in them?
it. What
Less
you're
words. You
asking.
teach less words.
No, you're being really direct. You're asking a really pointed question about what's going on there with high
Mhm.
achievers at the top. They're like everyone else.
Great answer.
Okay, that's it. I don't think there's any mystery to it. I think some people's survival skills take them further down the road of external gains.
Mm, mhm,
And I think there are some genuine people who've really done some inner work that got them there. And you'll see evidence of this. I think it's important to acknowledge that not everyone's after the same things.
mm,
And it may seem like this, they're all, you line them up, they're all the same, right? This leader of that, leader of Fortune 500, executive producer of this, CEO of that. And they're all like in a category. But I get curious about what is it you're building in yourself? Because when you get that question, it forces some awareness about, oh, I built my whole life around appearing to be a success. My home life's a mess.
mm,
Okay. Then you have, ugh, I don't like that one. Then you have someone who's like, I'm here to really impact and I mentor everyone I work with.
mhm,
Okay. Then you have another one who's, and I work a lot with women and people of color, and I talk
mhm,
about this because when you think about solutions in the world and where we are now and who's in the head and who's leading, there are certain problems that just get replayed. And women and people of color historically haven't been in those roles of
mhm,
leadership, that level of being a president of the US, for example, or heads of companies that are, you know, part of child labor, you know, mining issues in an African country for products that we use every day,
mhm,
Who is responsible in the world? I really think it's time to have women and people of color because we haven't been in charge this whole time. It's our turn. And I'm starting to be more comfortable saying it as my book's coming out next year. It's called Triumphant. It's bringing people through the method of becoming an authentic leader in standing in your values at the top of the mountain and
mhm,
being someone who can set ecosystems because that's the only way we're going to heal as a country and the world, right?
mhm,
High achievers, however, have the same problems we do. It's just that people pleasing looks different when you have a lot of capital to allocate. You're not
mhm,
looking to people please to your boss, you're looking to people please to people with money who invest in you. And
mm.
so it's the same game, it's just how where they're playing it. Does that make sense?
Oh, absolutely.
I could speak a lot more about this, but I don't want to out anyone in particular. I'll leave it at this. The game is always realizing that you're either part of the problem or you're part of the solution, and there is no in between.
Mhm, mhm. Love that. I love that. But I
Mm-hmm.
think the biggest takeaway is for listeners, and a lot of my listeners and my clients in general are those individuals in those positions. And I've seen the walls and how these, as I call them, failure narratives in the mind play out in a variety of different ways. And for some of them, we can be working together for months to years before finally we're feeling comfortable enough to be seen as not having it all together, right?
Mm.
As not being perfect. Perfectionism is a is a thought pattern that I interact with every single day. Personally, I would say I'm in recovery
Yeah.
and I get to use, as you've mentioned, my own healing journey to help my clients and obviously my education as a therapist. But it is a bitch, for lack of a better term. And it really just has a stronghold on these brilliant individuals, which I guess I would think we both agree on this, is like a part of striving for excellence. There's a part of perfectionism, if you will, that got them to where they're at, right? And there's a part of it that, I want to strive for excellence. I want to, do the best that I can, and whatever my goal is. However, I tell clients, and I literally just recorded, or I posted today, a whole podcast on perfectionism,
Ooh,
that
so good.
yeah, it's when it's at the expense of self. And that's something you had also mentioned.
Yeah.
You have
Self-betrayal.
yes, you have the person who looks like they have it all together, but their
Hmm.
family lives are in shambles.
Hmm. Hmm.
And it sounds like, and maybe you can explain how you help these individuals who are willing to do the work reorganize and prioritize, what's
Yeah.
important.
Right. The thing I wrote down here in my notes, because I think with a pen in my hand,
Same.
is, yeah, I know, I see you doing. Shame. Shame
Mm,
is the primary relationship that we're in when we're performing and in perfection. It's actually the primary relationship. It's the primary conversation, if you will, that we're willing to have in ourselves. But I don't think we've
mhm.
ever seen it that way. So what do I mean by
No.
that? I can't get anyone to have a shift without really seeing themselves clearly as they are, not as they want to be. And that's a very important difference. I'm going to say it again, Christina, for everyone listening. How can we see ourselves clearly in our truth as we are feeling when we wake up in our body, in our heart, in our mind, with what's really going on? How can you track it, name it, without cringing or hiding or retracting or self-protecting? So if we can do that and be safe to see ourselves clearly, we have a chance.
Mm,
And that is the single differentiator between, I remember I said I'm not for everyone. Some people cannot go there. It's not safe.
mhm,
Okay. So the
mhm.
mask has become themselves. I view that as a leader, as a market, you think about marketing, they're the ones who are watching distantly. They may never come over here to my campfire, never be curious enough to see, but the ones who are coming, like, what's happening over here? It's resonating. Like, what are you doing over here? They're the ones who are ready. Okay. And the ones who are ready will do this. They will get in a safe space with someone like me, where they're now, for the first time, maybe be able to go beyond without contracting.
Mhm.
They're able to see themselves as they are, because there's only one reason why I think they feel safe. I know, I tell them all this. It's like a blessing, like I'm speaking a blessing over your heads. I know
Mhm.
you came here because you know you're meant for more.
Mhm.
That's why you're here. You're ready to go beyond what you can do on your own. It gives me goosebumps. So you
Mm,
already know, future you did the thing, but you're ready to make the shift, to leave the cliff of the land of the known, to soar. You cannot do it without proving to yourself that you can do this. So we're going to do this. The only reason you're going to be able to is because you're safe enough to see what's always been there and driving the car the whole time
right.
in order to shift it. So then you ask me, how do I do it? If we can't get to that first step of getting safe and getting honest, there's no hope. So that's why I'm telling you that. All right. Getting
Mhm.
honest and getting safe, that combination. When you get safe and honest, then the vulnerability, the emotions start to come up. And so then you understand, if I'm asking you to take me to What's the story? Is it that I'm not enough? Okay, where did it begin? Did my dad tell me that? Did a teacher? Blah, 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 blah. Like, where did this all begin? Now we're getting specific. So the conversation isn't this like huge black thundercloud of like we live inside in the world. It's like it came from this thing. It's a root. You get to the root cause, Christina. It
Mhm.
started with a seed that was planted. So we got to go back to that moment.
Mhm.
And if we can go back, and that's just, it's not mystery. Like people are like, yeah, but how do you do it? And I'm like, I'm telling you how you do it. This is how you do it. You go back and you're like, what did I learn at that time? And then you realize that was the source of the shame, the conversation that I'm enough. But what if that wasn't ever there? Like, what would be possible if I realized that was my dad suffering because his blah, 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 blah. He didn't know any better.
Mhm.
So what if the
Yes.
story was actually something else? Now, Christina, this is where people have a breakthrough. This is where the transformation, like you said, everyone does transformation, but I'm actually showing you, giving you the tool. All the listeners, feel free to use it. It's not that you now are different. It's that you're seeing your same story from a completely different perspective
Mhm.
in a way that's empowering you. Now you're not like there's no excuse anymore. You're free from the idea that you weren't enough. You see the truth now. Do we tell these stories on stage, Christina? No, we do not, because it's too much for an audience that's just getting to know us. But we now know is if I thought I wasn't enough this whole time and I went and built, and just use an example, I built a marketing company to help people be seen so that they can make a difference in, getting the visibility to save more lives. Well, how do you know now? How do you talk about your business now that you know you didn't feel enough? Well, now I can say, for women business owners, to get specific about the problem you solve for the solution you have, and apply this to high achievers, CEOs. I now know why I built what I built, and I'm now comfortable talking about it. And it's not like I'm over the people pleasing thing, like afraid to show that I'm not perfect. It's that I now know my purpose.
Mhm.
I now know that I'm here for that thing you said, Joanna, that I'm aiming for. I'm just not fixated on what I want people to think about me. I don't need to control that, because if I land in what my vision is and I talk about it and I talk about why it matters, I've totally changed the conversation, and I don't find myself checking and measuring against other people. I just care about this. So it's
Right.
not mystery. How it happens is just the shift in perspective resolves the problems of self-betrayal, the problems of shame, the problems of
Mhm.
hiding, the problems of being in a self-protected mode resolves when we're free from having to negotiate with not being enough inside of ourselves.
Absolutely. Well, I think when you help people understand that shame, again, shame, the way I explain it is I am wrong, whereas guilt is I did something wrong, right? Shame is I am wrong. And when it sounds like you walk your client into the origin and then show them like this is just a product of someone else who was suffering in a similar way, parent, caretaker, whomever that is. And what I heard you say is like there's this level almost like shift in like not only compassion towards the self, but compassion towards them if we allow it. Now, obviously, in some circumstances, that's
Right.
not true.
Mm-hmm.
And I know for me, my therapist said to me once, Christina, what if your mother cannot show up the way you think she's supposed to in your head? Like, what if she does not have the skills? And she said it in very, like, I want to say like 5 words. That's what it felt like. It was just so impactful. It just hit me like a dart between the eyes. And that moment released something in me, resentment, a lot of pain, and a lot of anxiety of the shoulds, right? That I was struggling with in that moment.
Mm.
And what you're doing is then, so once we release shame, if now we take off the table, I'm worthless, I'm not enough, we open the door to say, well, if that doesn't exist, then I obviously there is something about me that is good and worthy and all of those things. And then I just
Mm.
love how, what I really love about this is it's not this It's so real, and like you've already said this, but it just requires work, and it requires pain, and it requires walking through it. And I feel like that gift that you have to walk people through that is remarkable.
Hmm.
How did you learn that about yourself? If you're willing to go there with
What
me.
exactly were you saying?
That
What did
you
I learn?
have the gift to walk people to and I know this about myself, and I know why. You walk people through side by side some of their biggest struggles in their lives,
Hmm.
and walk through the pain, through the shame, through the guilt, and support them through that journey. And then on the other side, where does that come from for you?
It's God's work.
Mm,
So I'm speaking plainly. I needed this work.
hmm.
I am the product of the method that I created by flying in that plane as I needed it to fly.
Right.
And now it's not that you ever like graduate from those questions about yourself.
Hmm.
It's that we know how to practice what to look at in ourselves. I think my confidence in this process is what you're seeing because I've seen it work for so many people. It doesn't take time. It just takes a commitment to leave the shore
The
of
courage.
what's known. It takes courage. Yeah, exactly. It's I wrote down what you said. Like it's so real, and it takes work, and it's like, and it's hard, and it's painful, and I'm like, I have to say it this way because people hear that they're like, this is something that I like do not want to sign up for. And I'm not trying to convert anyone. I just think it's important for us to realize that we've actually normalized a struggle of swimming against the current so much and never leaving the shore and feeling like we're making progress. And it's like we normalize that, and I feel exhausted even saying it that way. But the method that I bring people through is the journey of embarking and committing, like build the ship right, make it
Hmm.
last across the water, because that is where you're going. But
Mm,
people forget that they're just like in a rowboat. They don't have enough skills. They're not confident enough. They're not, and they're already struggling. It's already painful. We just got
yes.
used to it. We got used to playing small. And I'm like,
Yeah.
if you want to play big, you're going to have to put in different work. It's not harder, and it's actually not more painful. It's different. It's investing in yourself. We don't
Hmm.
have a lot of evidence, especially women. We don't have a lot of evidence or models for you are the answer, and investing in you and filling your cup is the answer to everything you seek.
Hmm. I
So
couldn't
I'm
agree
like,
more.
yeah, I'm gonna die on that hill. Like you are worth it, and yeah. So it,
My tombstone will literally be next to yours.
sign me up, sign me up. And how do I know? How do I know? You asked me like, how do I know how to do this, or how do I know I can do it, or what did I?
Just
What
like
did you
what
ask me?
basically, I mean, this is a part of your purpose,
Yeah, it
and
is. Yeah, it is my
this is
purpose.
God's work.
It's. I think everyone has a God-given purpose, and it's so painful to live out of alignment from it. The way we punish ourselves is that we want our purpose to be something we think looks a certain way, but we forget to listen to what's calling us, and often it's through our pain. The pain
Mhm.
is simply a message, but until we turn toward it and are brave enough to like hear what it wants to tell us, it's it's the thriving. Everyone like looks on Instagram. It's like, look at this life that I'm like, if only
Mhm.
the second we realize that everything that's surging, once we are willing to hear it, it will give us new eyes, and it will make we make different choices
Mm.
to, oh, now I'm going to pick up the phone and call that person who I know has an opportunity. I don't know why I haven't called them.
Right.
When you know you're worth it and you start to stand in your worth, our decision making mechanism is upgraded, and the whole world changes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love it. I love it. So one thing I want to come back to is that what you were talking about of not only building the ship right so that it lasts and gets across, and also putting yourself first. A lot of what we talk about on this podcast is exactly that. And when it comes to nutrition and it comes to exercise, we're not even, the rowboat is, you're basically on a paddleboard half the time trying to get
Mm.
across a very upset, very charged waters, whatever they call them. Like you're going through a storm.
Turbulent. Yeah, 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 yeah.
You know?
It's gonna be rough.
Yes, on a paddleboard, thinking, and I think society teaches women that's how you're supposed to take care of
Mm,
yourself,
mm,
right? In these extreme ways that are torture, really.
mm,
And I just want to bring that back up, because what you said there is like, you have to build the ship right to get across the waters. You need to have the skills and true confidence. I think sometimes we have a false confidence. We convince ourselves that we can do the thing without the skill. And then we get upset with ourselves when we cannot do it.
mm.
But really, it comes back to exactly what you're saying here. You have to be able to be honest with yourself about that. And then again, like you said, build the skills, which builds the confidence. And that, I just want to reiterate that to the listeners. Build the
Oh,
ship, build it right. The fast tracking, whether again, this can be your relationship with your spouse, this could be your relationships in your career, your relationships with food, your body, whatever that is. But what I hear
mm.
is take the time, build it right. And again, like any sort of thing, that's, you're going to have issues in your boat. You might have a few things here and there that we need to, maintain. But once it's built right, it's, I won't say, I was going to say it's forever. That felt a little cheesy, but we'll go with it.
Yeah, well, it's an identity. The boat, just in real terms, is who am I?
Hmm.
So there's a lot of fronting going on. And I don't blame anyone. I don't have any judgment going on at all about that with women, because I know a lot about this. Okay. I know a lot about masking, being a perfectionist, having it all together. I still have these days. I mean, I just did a post about this. Like, I want to normalize, like, you don't just suddenly turn off the external validation switch just because you decided to upgrade who you want to be in the world, right? But here are the few questions I want to ask your listeners, okay? So you can
Mm,
ask yourself if you're listening to this. Are you here? Like, first of all, do you want to feel better?
mm,
So why questions are so key to me is because we forget to ask. We're so busy answering stuff, we never even ask the question. Do you want to feel
great
better?
point.
Some people are like, I'm not ready for whatever change you think, like you're saying, I'm not ready for that. Okay, so we're not ready to feel better, but do you want to feel better? Okay. Are you are you the difference? Some people don't
Mm,
feel called. They don't feel like they can do it or don't believe in themselves. And even asking that question can flush out some of the stories.
mhm,
And be like,
mhm,
actually, I've always known I was here for something bigger, but now that you're asking me, am I the difference? I see that I don't believe in myself.
mhm.
Do you see how these powerful questions can be?
So powerful. Absolutely.
Do you want to feel better? And being honest, because sometimes staying stuck has benefits. You always have an excuse to fail.
Right.
Do you want to feel better? Are you the difference? And then finally, what are you going to do about it? Because if I talk to you in a year and we still have the same conversation, the same problems, right?
Mhm.
How are you going to feel about that?
Mm,
So it matters to know what you're going to do about it. I want to go back to two things we talked about. You said like it's torture. We're taught to have a paddleboard, and I'm like, wow, that's hard to argue with. And I even say, some people say they feel like they're drowning. So some people don't even feel like they have that, Christina,
right.
right? Like it gets to be bad for some people when it comes right down to it. So this is how you know, talking about masking and unmasking, you see what people are in themselves, that they don't have a safe place to talk about it. But here we are, and we're doing it. First of all, to your point, can we forgive some of those stories that started our parents struggling with what they struggle with? Can we forgive that? It's patterns. Your mindset mirror, like this whole conversation, we're inheriting patterns. The question is, are you the one to break it, or are you going to pass it on? Remember I said you're either part of the problem or part of the solution. We don't
Mhm.
get to decide what program we got. until we do decide. Okay.
Yep.
And
Yep.
that is that what are you going to do about it question. Are you going to be part of the solution and break in a generational pattern that you got?
Mhm.
That's the boat. That's becoming the hero that you needed
Mm.
that you didn't have. So whatever
Mm.
you didn't get here, whatever they validation you didn't get, now you build your life around giving it to yourself first, answering to Christina.
Mhm.
Christina gets to validate Christina, and that's it. Now make that true, right? And then the
Mhm.
other piece is emotional boundaries. I wrote this down because you're like, yeah, well, what about our personal lives? Like, how is this going to affect our marriage? The single most powerful thing any woman leader can do, and I have done this in my marriage, and first in myself, is to stop accepting things that are making you sick and keeping you stuck.
Yes.
And if you can set emotional boundaries, you're going to learn a lot about the people you've chosen. And the first thing that happens is you become unconditionally faithful to yourself.
Mm. Mhm.
And if you want to be rising to the top and whatever that looks like, impact, visibility, impact again, because that's what I'm about, is, people pay me for the visibility, but I work with them for their impact. So your impact and your visibility relies on you standing for your worth in your
Mhm.
life and setting new emotional boundaries. Up with this, I will not put. I am here for this. Communicating it, being about it, and standing in it, and saying it again, and having those conversations. And there are people who will leave your life, and you might be surprised who they are, because they're the
Mhm.
ones you thought would stand by you. And then the ones you struggle with the most, you're like, I'm going to set this boundary, and I know this person's going to leave. They're the ones who start to put in the work with you.
Mhm.
And you can't believe this other one that was like, been a mentor this whole time is gone.
Right.
You'd just be surprised. So just let yourself be surprised, because being an unconditional stand for yourself is the path. And
Mhm.
then now you have a clearer path. You have people who are truly supportive. They're
Mhm.
truly here to see you win. You don't have to negotiate with your betrayals of yourself all the time. What excuse do we have from there? Now you just are building. And that's where it all starts to happen. All of
Mm.
it starts to line up. The money, the opportunities, you being able to look people in the eye and talk about what you're here to do. Now you're in demand. Now you're building with the people you only dreamed. Now the message is aligned. So that's how that works, Christina. That's
Mhm.
the process.
I love it. I love all of it. You know, today it's so funny, and again, I don't believe in coincidences. I think this is God driven. I was so, my current career, or my business, excuse me, is in really helping people to heal their bodies, or their relationship with their bodies and food, from the inside out. And so, as
Mm.
a therapist and then also a personal trainer and nutrition coach. However, I've felt pulled to really come back to the clinical space, and I have thus done that. I've opened a private practice. It's very brand new, and working in both fields. And today something happened, and you made me think about this in regards to, what are you being pulled towards, like what feels like, I feel like one chapter is there's a push for that chapter to maybe not close, but be realigned, and then there's this pull towards the clinical space. And today I was reading about this court case where the woman she's had a lot of mental health issues, and they're trying to decide if she had postpartum psychosis, the Lindsay Clancy case. Anyway, I'm reading the comments, and I'm reading these individuals who were just not taken care of by their clinical team, like comments of just people's experiences. I started crying. Like,
Mm.
I felt this, like, intense kind of wave of emotion of, like, and literally the words, "This is why you're here." Like, this is why you are here, to be with these people who, and it makes a lot of sense too, because I've
Mm.
struggled with my own mental health and gone through my own
Mm.
healing process. And again, it's still, I still have my own struggles, and I talk about it on here often.
Wow.
That
Mm.
experience happened today. And I'm just curious your thoughts on that, of it, for people who get
Mm.
these. who have these overwhelming, whether it's inspired thought or overwhelming emotional pull towards something.
Yeah.
How do we, you know, what is my question here? I'm just curious. Like, I listen for that,
Yeah.
right? I want to hear
Mhm.
it, but I'm just curious your thoughts on my
I love
experience,
it.
I guess.
I think, yeah, and it's such an important question. I'm really glad you asked that because I think your audience and our listeners here are going to really relate to you saying this because we all get these intuitive hits, right? Like
Oh, I
that
love
really
that.
resonated. Yeah. And that is where we want to be,
Mm,
Christina. The
mm,
the conversation we're in gets to be more about what is resonating with me. And that, if you really keep tuning into and looking for and creating places where like that resonates, just looking for what's calling you will be the quantum leap to the path that you are meant to be on. Where we get off, just for people to hear this, is where we want to look for evidence that it's not working or tune into the troll comments or listen for, like check to see how many followers we're having. I'm part of this too. I have the same stuff, but it's like you're gonna be it's like imagine you're in a room and there are people who are catty and they're like kind of like who are you? Why are you here? And then there are people who are like, I love what you're doing. This is mattering to me. This is why. This is what I see in you. Here's what I want to do for you. Which conversation would we rather be in that room if it's a networking event, right? But
yeah.
apply that to your inner dialogue because we get like we can't see that we're hanging out with the wrong crowd. you know
Hmm.
why are we tuning in to evidence that things don't work? So when you've and I know that case you're talking about, you see that those who haven't been properly cared for by that clinical team. If you were my client, I would say write down what you heard in yourself and
Mm,
now make that a research project. What is it that stood out to me when I saw that? What is it that I have to say about this? Why does it matter to me? When did I first care about this? Do I have a story about a clinical team?
hmm.
Right? Not caring for me. Right? So you
Oh, yeah.
see how we get in the intuitive. Now you're in your inner track. And I can see you already have an answer for that.
Oh, I do. 1000%. I was not often seen and heard in my upbringing simply because my mother was struggling with her own mental illness that was never diagnosed, you know? And I know that. I won't tell her that. I've tried to tell her that. But I had to learn to take care of myself. And I see oftentimes, especially women are neglected when it comes to the medical space. And that
Mm,
is increased by 36% for women of color.
yeah. Oof.
And, and it's I'm not a mother. I've never suffered from postpartum, right?
Mm-hmm.
However, I can relate in other ways. And so
Right.
yeah, absolutely. I love that though. I want to go through those questions when we get off the call.
Yeah. And
Uh,
I do a retreat. I'll tell you this because I don't know when this is coming out, but people are going to be
mhm,
like, "How do I do this work?" And I always want to make sure that they feel like they can access this with me. I have you heard me talk about safe spaces. It's critical that we allow ourselves to opt into those when they're available if it feels right because that's where the magic happens is you don't have to do it by yourself. I mean, like maybe that's news to someone, but there's someone where you're going to meet them and they're going to move you forward
mhm,
simply by being around them. And that is my room. So when I have a retreat, I have one in September, I give people these tools and they work with me alongside me with each other. There are other leaders, other people becoming a voice, finding out what is my story, how am I communicating it, how is it not being communicated, what am I overcoming in my performativity that's blocking my business. You leave with these certain things. You leave with the story and what you now need to do in your marketing and your business, let alone being able to be seen, heard, and valued in the truth that you didn't know you've been carrying around. And that
mhm,
one gift right there is what will shift people. I call it trajectory setting. So we think we're going over here, like we're working on this thing in our business, but we're doing these things. And those patterns that we can't help because they're unconscious are bringing us over here. And then we're like, why am I over here? Well, we've got to set your trajectory. You said you want to do this. Here are the tools that are going to point your boat there.
Ah.
And it's all that healing work. It's now realizing I'm in this conversation that's keeping me people pleasing. But if I
Mm-hmm.
listen to myself and I do what Joanna's giving me and I apply that over time, I just have to not stop because I will reach it. I just have to not stop.
Yeah.
Keep
When
going.
is the retreat?
September 17th to 20th, and I have a stage where some of my speakers who've been training will be doing their visibility piece, the press release, professional footage, video, all that. I like to show people who are new what's coming for them, like getting your signature talk is the next step. But before that is just being in that safe space, getting the breakthrough so you can get to your talk faster.
Love
Yeah,
that.
so and I actually do have about 4 spots left. So I don't know when
Oh,
this comes out, but
we'll
happy
make it.
to.
I can make it come out whenever.
Great, let's do it. So
So,
if they feel called in, reach out to me or book your spot if you like. I want that spot.
yeah,
Yeah.
what we'll do is we'll add for the listeners, we'll have any links that you want me to add to the show notes because I think that that is brilliant. And I come back from Maryland. I was hoping it wasn't, I was like, please don't be the same weekends. And it's not. So maybe you'll see me
Yay!
there.
Oh, good. That's meant to
uh,
be.
I want to make sure to touch on the tell your story, the method itself is now I know we've talked probably a lot about it. Is there anything that is a part of that 5-point method, right? Would you call it a
Yeah.
method?
True influence method. It is a method. It's a
Mm-hmm.
framework.
Mm-hmm.
It's a
Framework.
scaffold. Yeah.
Yes. To the boat. It's like,
Yeah. It's the bridge from here to there. That's it.
yes.
You just keep walking and you're gonna get there. Yeah.
I love it. Did we cover majority of that or can you
Oh,
summarize what that
sure.
looks like?
Well, it starts with I always think about just what I tell my clients. You got to be clear on the problem you're solving because people are like, I just do this thing. And people are like, but I don't know why I need you. The problem I solve at phase one is not feeling confident or feeling sure that you are the one to have this voice that you say I can get with you, Joanna. I don't know. So get a breakthrough and see what your why is that makes that vision choose you. Like, I know why I'm here now, Joanna. I know why me with the trauma that I had, the life I had, I got a breakthrough. So phase one is the breakthrough of seeing that shift in perspective about how your pain contains the purpose.
Mm.
Now, and that stuff doesn't appear on stage. So I really like to tell people it's like going underground below the soil before we grow anything. You're planting a new seed. That transformation is you've been repeating an old pattern. We're here to plant a seed and you're thriving now. So that's what we do in phase one. Phase two, now you build the message that you're here to say in your purpose. Phase two is building your signature talk. I have a 7-minute talk framework I give people that breaks down the problem you solve, the solution you give, what you know about it, so your story,
Mm-hmm.
how it works. So what's your secret sauce? Like, what's the first breakthrough you do? Or what's this product service? And then, social proof, call to action, all that stuff. So they tease out those pieces and find how to resonate. Phase three is doing it and being a featured speaker. So that's the beginning of this new identity. You see, I'm giving you all the tools, the toolkit to build that boat. And as you build it, you're going. You're already now a featured speaker. You're putting it in your social media. And now you're like dressing like it. You sound like it. You have a one-liner people can
Mm-hmm.
remember you for. You don't sound like anyone else anymore. You sound like you. Your friends are like, oh my God, I can't believe you're doing these big things. This is amazing. You seem so comfortable. And like, well, how did you get there? Well, this is what we're doing. Phase four is the level of visibility. Now you're in the press. Now in the cover of a magazine. They have featured articles. It gets
Mm-hmm.
into you becoming a master in your message so that you're remembered and now you're in demand and people are speaking at summits and building out the next level of your offer, your business, upgrading. And then phase five is the arrival at the top of the mountain of the rooms you said you wanted to build in,
Mm-hmm.
the network you said you could only dream of. How did you get in that room? You
Mm-hmm.
geared your message to them. You told them you're the one who solves this problem, but now you've done it. You've done the work, and now they're like, you got an introduction, and then you find yourself there. You're in that stage. You're with those people. You are building at that level. And now it almost goes back to phase one again. It's a new identity. Now that you've arrived, there's a whole other shore that gets to be possible in your
Mm.
legacy.
I love it.
How did I do explaining that?
And beautiful. It's absolutely
So it goes
beautiful.
from,
And
yeah, lack of confidence, lack of clarity, lack of visibility, lack of mastery, lack of connection into solving all those. You get confident, you get clear in your message. Now you're visible. Now
mhm,
you're mastering and you're a command, a
authority.
thought leader. Yeah, thought
Mhm,
leader, and then you're into global impact. Yeah.
mhm. I love that. Oh, it's so interesting as you were talking. I'm my in this phase. I had mentioned this to you, like I had lost my dad shortly after we
Mhm.
met, or before, excuse me. And really, this past year, his anniversary was on August 5th, the anniversary of his death. The past year has been a opportunity for new seeds to be planted. However, I'm testing the soil at the moment to decide what seed, maybe not decide, but see what I feel pulled towards to that, what is the new seed? What is this new growth area that I want to focus on? And it has transitioned. And when you were
Mhm.
talking, I'll say, and maybe you could, I always like to work through so clients or listeners can hear. What do you do when you feel pulled in multiple directions that are
Yeah.
this
Hmm.
really the same impact, right? So I have a wellness company where I help your average woman recreate a relationship with her body and food. And then I have this pull towards the clinical field to help those individuals who are more deeply overwhelmed with their, intrusive thoughts and mental health, and just, have more of a clinical meet the requirements for a clinical diagnosis of working with them. And they, in my mind, those two obviously can work together. However, on this end, we're doing this kind of concierge health coaching where I'm with you, I'm helping you create systems around your health and wellness and your mental health and wellness. Whereas over here, it's kind of, the clinical setting, sitting in an office, doing therapy, helping people meet their
Mhm.
goals. And it just feels so separate. It feels like it can work together, but then in my mind I get overwhelmed that it's like you have to pick one.
Right. Yeah, I think high performers have this. I am one of those people. The first thing is you can do it all, and you will, but not at the same time.
Mm,
And some you may be working on more than others at different times. I like to think of it as an octopus. You have multiple things going, but
yes.
sometimes you're leading with one. And when I have a client, I'm like, we're going to pick one, and you're going to learn so much about how to build in a way that it's new muscle sets. I like to tell people, view me as a personal trainer. You set a goal to be a champion competing, but you don't know how to work out to get there, and you just haven't done it before. You hired me to get new muscle sets, and that's truly what I do. It's new skills in yourself.
Mhm.
The old
Mm,
skills will not get you there. So
mhm,
if you're going to use my method to get strong, to do what you said you want to do, you're going to pick one of those to try it out on. So the questions I always ask people are like, well, what do you see in the future? Paint some pictures for me. Where are we going? What's happening in a year or 2 years that you
mhm,
like, oh my God, if we just, I see myself on this stage, or I see myself surrounded by these people and I'm doing this thing and they know me for this. We now get clear on what's calling you. And then I ask people, so what does that look like? What are the activities that inspire you to get to
mhm,
that? It's like, okay,
mhm,
I love working with people. I love my clients. Or I feel like my book is wanting to come out. Or
mhm,
it's all about through paid speaking. Like I just want to be on stages. Okay, so you just hear them. You hear yourself talk. So the way, and I have people who are like, okay, yeah, cool. I'm going to do this thing, speaking only. And then they come back the second session, like, so I want to talk about my book. And I'm like, okay, it happens all the time.
I bet.
So I have to remind them, we are here to craft an arrow. I use analogy a lot. We're crafting an arrow to hit a target. We're
Mhm,
hitting a target. What I want to stop you from doing is like, I have 10 arrows and I hit all the targets at once and we hit none.
mm,
Because you cannot
mhm,
focus on 10 targets at the same time. And they're like, well, oh yeah, okay, that makes sense. That makes sense. Okay, so all those arrows are super important. The book is super important. Is that what we're here to do? Well, I'm working on it. Great, you're working on it. Okay, so let's focus on the message that is going to appear in the book. You can apply it everywhere. So to answer
ah,
your question, how to answer that for you, if you were to ask yourself those questions, like, what do I see myself in a year? If you saw pictures in your mind, you spent time on it, Well, I do this with clients. I give them tools and they come back with answers, with visions. And
Mhm.
then that sets for you. Now you're like, I now know I can do all those things. I'm going to be doing this thing anyway. What is that thing?
Mhm.
But I want to talk about this, or I
Mhm.
want them to know me for this. That inspires me. That feels like the long-term thought leader message.
Mm.
So that's like, what is your TED talk? What do you do differently? What's your idea worth spreading? Some people want to build their business. And so it's very hard tax marketing, branding stuff that we do to get them to convert more clients. And that's also fine. It just depends on what they pick,
Right.
you know?
Right. Yeah. I've done visioning. That was part of this soil testing that I've done this year. And really at the end of the day, as you'll hear in my sign off when we conclude, is my slogan is what you say in your mind, you see in the mirror. That's it.
So good.
I want that. I want to be known for the woman, the speaker who can take that and help you apply it in your life.
I have so many ideas already just
Right.
popping.
I know. I'm gonna chat with you after we're done here, but
Yeah, it's clear to me how you can use that right away. That's great. It's great and memorable one-liner.
mhm. And it's embedded in everything I do, whether it's in a wellness business or in a therapeutic setting.
Exactly. And so everything gets to be lining up for how is what you do a reflection of that? How is your methodology a reflection of that? How is, what do you know about that you're going to tell them about what you say in the mirror? There's a whole process for the leadership that comes from that
Yeah.
message.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
love it. Amazing. I want to make sure people know where to find you, and then triumphant, right? Did I get that title right?
Yes. With an exclamation point at the end of it.
I
How do
love
I?
it.
I
How do
can't. I haven't figured out a way to be like say the title so that they see there's an exclamation point. I'm like,
triumphant.
triumphant.
I love that.
Yeah.
Tell everyone where they can find you, and
Mhm.
then where are we at with the book, and when can we buy it?
Well, what's exciting is the book isn't out yet. It's going to be out for pre-order once it's in publication, but accompanied with my book tour are live experiences to get a transformation with me in person
Mm.
in an event.
Mhm.
So that's going to be exciting. So people who aren't like, I don't know if I have time for a retreat, we just come to a live event. It's going to be awesome.
You guys,
So
and
yeah,
I've seen you in your home, and then I've seen you on stage, and they're the same person, but like again, it is worth going in person. But obviously, you can't go to Joanna's home, but you can go see her on stage. It's life changing, really. You just leave feeling so inspired.
amazing. Thank you for saying that. And we're
Mhm.
definitely going to put that in my socials that you said that.
Yeah.
But yes, find me by coming in person because we have the retreat, we have the book coming out. It's going to be in 2027. And I have events that I do with partners and a Speak and Rise events. You can see my speakers, and then you can look at what my clients are doing on social media, what I'm doing. So my handle is joannahortonmcpherson.com, and I'm on LinkedIn. I'm on all the things. So my website for people who are like, hey, I really want to check this out. What are you doing? Trueinfluencemethod.com. You can sign up for so many different things. I have a free authority audit for people who are like, am I really an authority that I think I am? So I give you a way to see if your message actually matches with your truth and your story. So it's fun. I mean, you get to try different things. And I have $1 million message toolkit for people who are like, I want to know what is my message that's going to be a game changer in my business. I give them that little secret tool to try
Amazing.
that will unlock that kind of like a one-liner that you have.
Mhm.
So the way you build what you build your business around is just for you. The
Yeah,
secret.
love it. Please,
So
please,
all those
please,
things are available.
everyone. Yes, go stalk her, check her out, get involved. It is I just it feels so you talk about rooms, right? And a lot of the work that I do is similar to what you're doing. And I love to be in that room. I love to be in a room where I feel like I actually am the person with the least amount of experience.
Mm.
I
Oh, I
love
love that.
learning from everyone else, and I'm just so thankful to have had this time with you and reconnect with you, and now I'm like, "Okay, we're gonna do this, look into the retreat, and yeah, I'm ready to work with you." So, I'll let you
Yeah.
guys know what happens. Awesome. Well, thank you for your
Love it.
time. I very, very much appreciate it.
My
For
pleasure.
Yes, everyone listening again, all of Joanna's information will be in the show notes. If this resonated with you and you're in a networking group or you have your mom group and say, hey, I listened to this podcast and I walked away feeling inspired. I think you will too. We'd love for you to share it. That
Mm.
helps us in so many ways. Just get out to the right person. And if one person can hear this and take away some of the gold nuggets that we spoke about, that will make my day. If you really enjoyed this podcast, we'd love for you to give us a 5-star rating and review, and also make sure, just double check that you're following us wherever you're listening between your ears, or you're subscribing if you're watching our beautiful faces on YouTube. And Joanna and I are going to leave you the same way that we do every single day, reminding you that what you say in your mind, you see in the mirror. Bye-bye.